you already peeled?
Oh, no, at the end. Okay. Talk to you then. Right, first of all, I'll show you what all this stuff is. I tend to come to presentations with a truckload of things. So one thing here is I'm very disappointed about this morning where we're not allowed to do that multi-level marketing. Because here I have something that we can all make a lot of money on. That's my acupressure jelly bean bracelets, my jelly bean pain relief jewellery, and my jelly bean detox pads, the ones that you stick on your feet and overnight sucks out all the toxins. There's also the jelly bean herbal tea, and it genuinely is a herb because it comes from sugar. Herbs come from plants. And this is my other one, which I think is really good. This is my multi-homeopathic remedy. It may cure every disease and health condition. And in there it's got vital force and memory of the remedy. And you all watch Second Opinion, so you do understand homeopathic remedies in that it's about the memory of what you've put in there. Now, we do have some good medication here that really doesn't have too many side effects. I've got the pills there. And this is the placebo pills, the famous placebo pills. Proven to be 30% effective in curing everything. Proven by thousands of clinical trials all over the world. So that's one thing that I do is, I haven't found any side effects on it yet. In fact, it's actually good for diabetics and people giving up smoking because they go hypoglycemic. And I believe there's some new paste that you put on your ulcers that's got some glucose base, but that's medical and that's not my area. But anything to do with it, jelly beans I'm interested in, and a guy said that when he makes beer, he puts a black jelly bean and it stops all the goo going in it. So jelly beans are very, very handy sorts of things to have. Now I've got some booklets here. Did you all get one? Oh, good, because there's plenty left if anybody wants some more. And you would have probably noticed in the centrefold, Geraldine's a centrefold girl. As much information as I could put in about this particular adverse events. I've got the iridology chart there, so if anybody has any problems later on, I can certainly help. Oh, wrong one. When this came out, they hadn't invented electricity, so I think we must have done it by this. And compliment of Geraldine. Now, there's only one person in the world I can email and say, hello, Geraldine, do you have an eyeball? And she said, yes, I've got an eyeball, a kidney and a heart. And she gave them to me for my presentations as well. Over here is my who's opened the... there's a snake and a spider missing. Now, calm down. They're natural, so they're safe. Has anybody, just quietly look around, has anybody got... Oh, Rex! Rex is over there. Come on, Rex. Rex, come on. Come on, come on. Come on. Just throw him. He's a good... Come on. He's a good catch. Woo! I'm fine now. Now, the cobra and rattlesnake is somewhere around here.
The kiwis have got
Just be. Come on, sweetheart. Now, these are genuine homeopathic bases. Got it. The anthrax. We've got the anthrax. Oh, thank God. People keep stealing that. I've got no idea why. But it's all natural. It's perfectly safe. And the citric acid and the mercury and the caffeine. The caffeine. And there's the $1 million. Still there. James Randi's $1 million for any one homeopathic remedy that can be proven. I've offered that money to a lot of people and they've never taken me up on it. Now, before I came, I had trouble sleeping. So I took my homeopathic remedy for sleeping, which is 1 drop of caffeine in a swimming pool. And for those of you that don't know homeopathy, it's 1 drop in... Now, I did this last time, and I had to go around the board twice. Now, honestly, you know, those kids with critical thinking, do you really think that 1 drop in that many will have any effect? I said, oh, homeopathy, don't knock it unless you try it. And I thought, that can't possibly be real. So what I've written on here, 300,000 homeopaths and 40 homeopathic universities can't be wrong. So therefore, homeopathy must work. And so I do that for presentations for seniors. I have a lot of fun doing it. I've also had a lot of very negative feedback from the people that like their natural therapies. And they've been actually quite abusive. They've even made some fairly personal statements about me as well, which I thought was quite good because I will use it all for writing articles. And now the first one I'd like to talk about is how I became the power of one. In situations whereby somebody famous gets an illness, we saw Christopher Reeve in his broken back, Michael J. Fox. What they do is they suddenly champion the cause of that illness, and it's fantastic that they do that because they use their life skills and their position to raise awareness and raise money for research. How good is that? My favourite is Lance Armstrong. Now, he rides a bicycle, for you ladies that don't follow the Tour de France. Not an exercise bicycle, a proper one. In 1996, this guy was rated #1 in the world as a cyclist, you know, with a little cute spandex outfit and big, thick thighs. Anyway, they're awfully skinny though, these guys. Anyway, he was diagnosed with cancer. 1996, he was given a 20% chance of surviving. He had really radical chemotherapy, all that kind of stuff, and he decided he wasn't going to die. He was going to do everything he could. And for those of you that watched the Tour de France, he won it for just a couple of weeks ago. I thought, wow, that guy is inspirational. And he's doing so much to raise awareness for these things too. Sometimes it takes some really negative event before we'll go out on a limb and follow a passion that we have to try to make some changes. The fact that you all came to this conference suggests to me that perhaps it isn't a perfect world yet, and you've all got some agenda that you would like to see changed. And I say with creationists, when they work out how to get the 3,000 bloody dinosaurs on the ark, I'm with them. Every day in Australia, 30 women are diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer. 5 die. Unfortunately, 1st of October 2003, I was one of those women. And I'm sitting there with these perfectly straight-faced doctors telling me about these horrific things that could happen to me. You know, cutting and burning and drugs. And I just couldn't believe it. Who's he talking to? I'm fine. I feel fantastic. Now, the only reason I'm going to live to be 100 is because of orthodox medicine. Because they got me early, a bit of a snip, a bit of a burn, and a lot of help to make sure that I'm going to be one of the survivors. For those of you that have been in touch with cancer, most of you would have. Might be a neighbour, friend, family member, even yourselves. There was some gentleman here before. You know that the treatment is very long. For me, it was 4 months from my diagnosis to the last treatment. The last 8 weeks was driving a 2-hour return trip into Brisbane for like a 20-second radiotherapy treatment. And during those times, sometimes the machine would be down and I'd be an hour or 2 in the waiting room. I'd talk to the other patients. In fact, sometimes I had to talk to them through a voice box. These were wonderful people. You know, mothers with little children there. They were all going through the same horrific event that I was. And I know that a lot of them won't be here now. They'll be dead or they'll be dead soon. Some of them were really at the end, you know, being wheeled in and out. If I can achieve anything through getting my cancer through, the fun that I'm having with people like yourself, I will dedicate it to those people because they sure didn't deserve what they're getting. Wonderful people. National Seniors Association. Is anybody a member of National Seniors Association? You like all the cheap stuff? Right.
No one else is, you man.
After the 8 weeks, you're not too young to get a bargain. After the 8 weeks of going in and out, one day it was suddenly over and I woke up the next day and I was really a bit of a zombie. So you're just there, your whole life suddenly was planning, oh, we've got to get there by 11 o'clock. Every day was a different time. We've got to get there by 11 o'clock today. And that's it. That was your whole day taken over and recovering. And at the end of it, you're burnt. You totally met all these amazing people. I was sometimes really angry, I was sometimes really anxious, sad, shocked, all these things. It was a roller coaster trip for me. And really, your memory's gone. You can't remember names. You talk about that bloke with the colourful shirt in the front row that he got from Salvation Army, da-da-da. You end up great long sentences and they say, oh, Fred, or Peter, or this or that. And you can't believe, where's my memory gone? Most of that's come back. And I talked to my GP, who is over there, whose name is here. Been fantastic to work with her on the website. And I said, what's wrong with me? She said, you've got traumatic stress. And I thought, well, she's right. That's a trauma. You know, so I understand now that what I was going through was quite a normal thing to happen. National Seniors Association, 300,000 members around Australia. The most vulnerable people on the planet. They're over 50s. What do? About 10 years ago, I went back to uni and I did basic psychology, advertising, English, just because I thought I would like to learn about those things. So really all that means is I know where I've got the books. But I know I'm good at looking things up. I could read ads. So I opened the book, page after page, herbal remedy for sex, for knees, for joints, all famous people, page and page. And then page after page of miracle cure for cancer by this naturopath, for this cancer, for that. And then products that clearly defied physics and physiology. And I thought, this isn't right. So I emailed the Food and Drugs Administration about one product, and I started researching stuff. Compiled a great little letter, saying that these things, this is the proof, this is the information. Sent it in to them. And of course, what did they do? Nothing. And at that time, I went to my oncologist, I had a meeting with her, and she said, what are you doing, Loretta? And I said, I'm trying to fight, like a probably $20 billion industry on my own. And I said, just get me down a bit. I said, I'm just feeling a bit fragile. I think I'm going to give up. She said, don't give up, Loretta. You'd be surprised how much power one person has. So I went home, turned on the computer, and I'll read you just a little bit of this because I was really angry. And I thought, right, I'll just start it off very sensitively, as I am. I demand you apologise to all your members. And this is a couple of things. Not only do you print ads for quacks, naturopaths, quackery, pills for sex and weight loss, and the possibility of some pesticide thrown in for good measure, and banned products, but your policies even prevent quality information being made available to your computer literate readers. And I had asked the computer section to put in Alzheimer's and tinnitus links for some new revolution, and he said, sorry, this is for fun, I'm not allowed to put health stuff in. And this guy was a retired pharmacist. And I ended it. I think you should apologise to your membership for their lost opportunities, to give them advice and hope for their quality of life now and in the future, and for the total lack of understanding in peddling snake oil products and services. And I went and found every email in that bloody newspaper and faxed it off to them. I thought, I've done all I can. Anyway, they got back to me. They said, Loretta, could you put an unemotional argument to the editor? So then I better keep away. In fact, I've kept away pretty well up until last week, away from the email. Wrote a nice letter, said, just give me a couple of weeks to put my argument together. And my argument was that a lot of people over 50, the only non-financial magazine they get is the National Seniors Association one. That's all they get. And they can't afford the $6 for Women's Weekly. The other one is that, unfortunately, for people over 50, 50% of them have clinical evidence of Alzheimer's. That's not too bad. We've all got a bit of a memory problem there. And all these things I linked to websites. And also only 2% of people are going to have enough money to retire on. And I went on with all the facts and figures. And I'm pleased to say that the dodgy health products are gone, the naturopaths are gone. Some of the pills are still there, but there were only 2 pages of it. So one person can make a difference. And one thing, there's another one too. I started to get a bit gung-ho about this because, Geraldine, I've got someone to boast to that gives a damn. The local newspaper had the detox pads, not the proper ones, but those artificial ones that, they put out the front of the naturopaths places. And so I attached a ACCC letter that said the ACCC is seeking to keeping an eye on the media that's exploiting the vulnerable. And that's why I always put senior on everything, because seniors are seen to be vulnerable, whereas adults aren't for some reason. So I tell people senior is, you know, if it's not for you, it's your grandmother, but everything I've written is for anybody else. Anyway, I complained. And he wrote back, "Thank you for bringing the advertisement to our attention. We will certainly not be accepting any further advertising from this particular person." I thought, you champion. One person can make a difference. Now, the thing about teams, right, just don't like to mention the team business, but the Skeptics have a reputation. They're the world's worst team people. There's 3,000 of you all doing 3,000 different things, and no one wants to help the guy on the left or the right. And the Skeptics will readily admit that, but I want to put this on record, that from the first day on my journey, when I'm wobbling along on my bike with the training wheels, Barry was there, hanging on the back, giving me advice and guidance. He and the team were there, pushing me along, and then when finally I was going, oh, it's not bad, they were cheering and clapping and telling me to go. I would not have had the self-confidence to do what I have done today if it wasn't for Barry, Dr. Richard Gordon, Richard Saunders, Geraldine Moses, Bob Bruce, Lillian Derrick, Loretta, and quite a few others I don't even know, who took the time to email me or to complain about something else. And the one thing about complaining I will mention, women love complaining. Go on, girls, complain more. Right, and that's how I got the name, The Power of One. If me and a tiny team can achieve so much, just imagine how much we could do if a few more of you got on and just did anything. Even positive thoughts will help. And that's why I put this out. Now, two reasons I put this out. One, this was a photo taken. Now, what have I achieved? Okay, apart from that, I will shortly be featured in New Idea. I'm not sure when. And they took all these photos of me. This was the best one. I thought, this is the last photo I ever want taken, because I look quite good in it. And I thought, what can I do? Can I approach New Idea about putting in something in GP places, in surgeries, to let patients do their own research? The one thing I am good at is being a patient. Other thing too, Australian doctor. Now, how many GPs get Australian doctor? June 17, check your copy. The very, very first ever patient story is moi. And that comes from nagging the crap and emailing people. It wasn't necessarily about the skills that I have. Now, we'll just have a quick story about the magnetic story. Geraldine, as I say, she fits in my life into 10 different places. I first got to know her when I did the booklet. And I thought I was so smart, I thought, I'll write a booklet. It shows you, I think I was on the drugs then or something. And I thought, I got to adverse events. I thought, as a person, you can talk to a person about drugs. I thought, how good is that? A person. And I'm so good at contact us. I thought, there's a line, it's in Brisbane. You can actually ring somebody up. I thought, fantastic. Anyway, so I thought, I'll ask permission. And you can see it's in white. It's so important to me. Talk to a person. So I did. So I got onto someone, I said, can I use the adverse event stuff? You'll have to talk to Geraldine Moses. That woman on the radio. So I ring up Geraldine and I say, you know, trying to sound like I'm spooked a bit. She says, what's the objective of your booklet? Oh, to help seniors make informed choices on orthodox and complementary and alternate medicine. I thought, sounds pretty smart. She said, what do you know about CAM? I said, nothing. I said, I direct them all to the Skeptics dictionary. $64 million answer. After that, Geraldine couldn't do enough to help. And the woman is writing a Fleming thesis. She's got a 1-year-old kid. She takes the booklet. I'm very black and white. She softened it, fixed it. She hasn't got rid of me since. We're still doing Duro 8. And that was her, and I thank you for doing that. And even, all right, the magnetic therapy. I told Geraldine she'd know me at a party. I'm wandering around after people's magnets. And this is the wonderful device itself here. My beloved Gauss meter. People have admitted, even my friends, right, the best thing with my friends when I decided I was going to prove magnetic therapy was bullshit, they said to me after several attempts to show them, as I mentioned in my articles, they said, all right, Loretta, we believe you, now leave your bloody magnets at home. And I thought, no, I never did, but that was enough from my friends to prove that I could show them that they were being defrauded. The jelly bean underlays. I prepared these for to show Geraldine, but they weren't like this. They were two raggy bits of material stapled together. And I had them ready to show her on the day, we'll mention this, won't we, the first recorded ESP ever in history. Geraldine, 12 months before, had given me a phone number. And I had worked in public service, I filed it. One day my phone was out a week, and I'd told Geraldine I was going to drop in that day. So I think the conversation went something like that. And I had these to show her. And I said, ring, ring, hello Geraldine, it's Loretta. What? Are you ringing me? I said, yes, I'm ringing you. You can't be ringing me because I'm ringing you. I said, no, I'm ringing you. We went like that fat fight. And I said, Geraldine. She said, why are you ringing me? I said, well, it was. All right. No, neither of us we can't. She says, I said to tell you I can't make it to where you are. She said, I'm not even at work. I'm at the university. And I said, well, why are you ringing me, Geraldine? She said, Brisbane Extra want you on. And she said, would you do it? I said, I would walk on broken glass to do that presentation. And she said, well, that sounds like King, Loretta. Anyway, so I managed in the next few days to delay them so I could look like I knew what I was doing. I'm Irish, right? I had the jar, I had the jelly bean underlay, an Australian jelly bean underlay. And there's the real one, there's the jelly bean one. I hide them and I do demos, and for some reason everybody has always picked the jelly bean underlay. Even my surgeon saying, that one. I saw the needle flicker, it's that one. And I don't know, oh, sorry. And they're actually better because if they don't work, you can eat them. So. And they have no side effects. So that, as I say, it was an emergency rush to my girlfriend's house so she could sew up these for the presentation. Later on, not too much later on, I'll be showing the video and we can go through that. We got time for that? Yes? Now, Dr. Lisa Larkso is over here. She features, she's the good-looking one in the video. And this is the nose you'll be looking at in a minute, so.
You ready?
Yes? No volume. Okay.
Drug-free forms of pain relief is magnetic therapy. Lisa Honeywell's been looking at the products that are available and whether they do work.
Magnetic therapy, there are the underlays.
Basically, you're receiving the benefits every single night.
The spot treatments.
To isolate the particular painful area, whether it's a knee, wrist, elbow, ankle.
The faithful.
You just feel so much better. The pain goes.
And the knockers.
People are not being told the truth.
For years, there's been a hard sell on magnets to treat pain. Craig Trinder says he brought the therapy to Australia. A former motorbike racer, he says he broke 30 bones and his back and spent years on drugs before trying magnets in the US.
In 3 days, I noticed the difference in the pain relief, and then after about 15 days, totally gone. It was just incredible.
Craig says he's sold 300,000 products since starting Gold Coast-based company Biomagnetic, and he happily presents customers who say the therapy works.
I had carpal tunnel, and that kept me awake at night, prevented me from using my hands, and within 2 weeks, I was sleeping right through the night.
Within 6 weeks, I was able to get up out of bed and move around like I was a 16-year-old ago.
But skeptics don't buy a word of it.
Anecdotal statements are not evidence.
Loretta Marron calls herself the Jelly Bean Lady. She's on a campaign to prove many alternative therapies simply don't work.
It doesn't matter. Many mothers with small children who have bumps and bruises, you give them a jelly bean, they're instantly cured. And that's just a placebo effect.
And the placebo effect is what Loretta believes is at play when people find magnetic therapy working. She says many consumers get no benefit, but you don't hear of them.
A number of the people that I know that have bought some of these magnetic products, they have put them in their cupboards, they have put them on their verandas.
Why Loretta's so passionate? Well, she had breast cancer, prompting her to investigate treatments for chronic illnesses. She has a maths and physics degree, so she looks for evidence, which she says is severely lacking when it comes to magnets.
The people I represent are cancer patients and seniors, and they really don't have the money to be buying placebo product.
So where does all this leave the people in the middle, consumers? Salespeople on one side, skeptics on the other. Can be tough making an informed decision. Well, science is trying to give us conclusive answers.
Well, there's obviously a lot of investment of money in it, and people do seem to suggest that it helps them. So we need to find out whether it in fact does and how it does it.
In a Griffith University study, strong flux magnets are being placed directly on the skin of people with tennis elbow pain.
The indications are that perhaps there is an effect. Perhaps that effect is not a nerve-based response. Perhaps there's something else that's happening, and that's what we have to go on to test.
So far, only a handful of patients have been studied, and researchers admit measuring pain levels scientifically is proving tough.
It's pretty frustrating because I'm not sure at this point in time that we have the technology to actually measure what effects are actually occurring.
As they persevere, the Australian Consumers Association says it's found no conclusive scientific evidence to support magnets, but nothing either to say they're harmful, except maybe to the hip pocket. These underlays sell for $299 for a queen bed. Craig started out offering money-back guarantees, but doesn't now.
Case studies on it, I think I'm beyond it.
The Consumers Association advises people trying magnetic therapy to look for products with money-back guarantees. And the Jelly Bean lady, well, she has her own suggestion.
I think if you want to try magnetic therapy at home, just grab a fridge magnet and put it on the spot.
The power of magnet.
To see your face that big, I had no dignity after that. Okay, any questions?
You dropped your mouth.
Oh, I had to.
It's mainly magnetized.
Any questions? They actually have two. That's called nocebo, where people have been on the jelly bean equivalent or the glucose and they've got quite sick, yes.
See, black jelly beans, they have to have a very severe reaction with children. Did you know that?
No, the aniseed didn't. Oh, do they? Well, we've got them there for the adults. I had a little sign up there before. The black ones are for memory, so I've eaten a lot of purple or wrinkles.
Can you show us any testimonials from people to prove that your jelly bean therapy works?
I'll just go type some up. That's the one for 500, yep.
Could you speak loudly, please, so everyone can hear? Do you have a sugar-free version?
Oh, yes, it's actually in this jar here. Sugar.
When I told my kids where gelatin came from, they went, "Oh, Dad, yuck." Any more questions? Any chance of magnetic jelly beans?
Well, one thing I'd like to just announce too is that Dr. Lisa Larkso said that she is looking at the opportunity of doing a clinical trial on magnetic underlays. So.
The response to the question to the university, Dr. Lisa, the answer was fairly vague. Instead of saying, well, there's nothing there that we know of. I was wondering why that was.
Partly because of editing, I guess. Partly because we don't really know. This research is still in its very infancy. I'm here to stay open-minded at this point in time.
Is there any evidence at all that it has any effect?
Not at this stage. There is certainly cellular evidence to suggest that static magnets do have an effect in cell culture, but not in clinical sense. And it's that leap from cell culture, benchtop lab-based studies that we have to try and see if there's anything that can be repeatable or reproducible in clinical trials.
Were those magnets in that big, much stronger
Peter Barrett.
Just a question about magnets as therapy then. If there was some basis for magnetic therapy, would that make MRI machines fairly efficacious or dangerous given the strength of the magnetic field?
They run at about 20,000 times the Earth's magnetic field, I'm told.
I think there's a whole issue there in terms of length of exposure, like a lot of things. I mean, it's a dose-response thing. I mean, if there is a response, it may be that it's dose-related or exposure-related.
Another question. Thank you. Richard,
The website. Don't forget the website, right? Dr. Woodford and I, this one is set up by a patient with her GP guidance, and it's a very patient-friendly website, and it's all in the Skeptics magazine, and it's all on your brochures as well. And if you like it, Barry may be going to, if you ask him nicely, print them from the Skeptics, because up till now I've produced the 2,000 of them, and that's been a lot of cutting and stapling and sorting. So if you want to, is that right, Barry? Can you just comment on that?
Yeah, if we get a sufficient interest in them, we'll certainly get some printed by our.
And take them to your GP and leave them there, because it helps the patients. Oh, good.
Gentleman here. Question. Thank you, Richard John. You may be interested to know that I was in the UK last year. I have an elderly mother there who's very susceptible to the sort of advertisements you're talking about, and they're advertising magnetic products in a mainstream magazine in the UK. I can't remember which one it was, and I became a little indignant, and so I contacted the consumers organisation in the UK to complain about this advertisement, and the woman at the other end took my call, and I said, I'm concerned about vulnerable people such as my mother being exposed to advertisements for products such as this. She said, but there's evidence that they work.
Yes, there was a trial done on a bracelet, a very weak bracelet on knees, and the patients, even Dr. Woodford read it, when they put their hands in their pockets, their keys stuck to it. So I suggest perhaps it wasn't a double-blind experiment. They knew, they had to know. When your keys are hanging off it, in fact, one thing I used to do was carry around a can of Aerogard when I was talking, attached to one of my magnets. I put a very strong one on, but yep, I shouldn't have.
Question up the back.
Oh, me? Yeah. Okay. Why were you wearing a jelly bean headband on television? Were you trying to look like a samurai?
Oh no, I tell you what, I have such a wide forehead. I thought all they're going to see is a huge amount of forehead. And I thought that'll be my jelly band, you know, jewellery. But also the black, there's a symbolism with magnets and forehead. In that Cleopatra put one on so she wouldn't age. And you can see that clearly it works. That's the thing about being a new idea. I've worked out 5 wrinkles on either side, and goes into 2 million's home. That's 20 million of my wrinkles are going to be around Australia in 40% of the homes about placebo.
More questions. Up the back and then where towards the last building.
The magnetic field is so efficacious, we could sell holidays in aluminium smelters.
Absolutely, you've got that. And better than that, those scrapyards, they've got the big, big magnets. And I tell them that you can sleep near one of those big transformers. In New South Wales, they've got DC transformers for the railways, and you can sleep there. But one guy said, I don't want to sleep next to a transformer. So I'll end on one. Yeah, go. Yes?
Oh, good. Set the record straight, that story.
I
was sitting at the university with my thesis supervisors, and they're very boring me, and the phone rings, and it's Brisbane Extra saying, Geraldine, can you talk about magnetic underlays? And I went, no, but I'd only just met you on the phone, but I had no idea of your phone number. And then I hung up to them and said, I'll see if I can find someone, and then the next phone call was Loretta. And that's why it was a yes then. But I want to ask about your Gauss meter. I've always meant to ask this. If you've been actually into shopping centres and measured the magnetic field on underlays that they sell in shopping centres?
I have a number of underlays. People give me underlays. Right. So I've got a collection at home that I use to show. And even I've gone, like the next door neighbour invited me there, and she said, you're wrong, you're wrong. And I said, why? She said, oh, these bracelets work. And I said, I'm not about bracelets, I'm about underlays, and I'll show you. She said, oh. She said, gee, measure it here, measure here. And in the end, she said, I didn't know I'd be done by placebo. And I said, at least you didn't buy an underlay. I saved you $300. Later on, she had bought an underlay. And I said, Would you like me to measure it? No. And later on, her husband said, Loretta, come here. And we measured it, and it's 0. And he said, try underneath. I said, she doesn't sleep underneath. So he came back, had a drink. She said, what did it say? And he said, it said 0. And they bought insoles for the shoes. So I got the daughter, I gave the daughter, I said, you measure them. She said, I can't get any reading on these. I thought, gee, I didn't know it would be that bad. So
Have any of these people tried to get their money back?
I asked, I said, would you take it back? No. Seniors will not return stuff. As was said in the previous talk before, people don't want to look like fools. And they get mad at me. Bad luck.
Are you, I hope,
a lonely person?
wandering around Australia and...
Oh, no. I've been invited to New Zealand, which is good. They have been fantastic skeptics over there. They've actually found me pharmacists that were prepared to talk to me about the products because they're not tied in with health, you know, the chemical warfare story I wrote.
Just another question about magnets and the comparisons that a lot of people seem to be very keen to use magnets for therapy, but at the same time, a lot of people seem to be very concerned about the dangers of, or the perceived dangers of electromagnetic radiation when they're two sides of the same coin. Do people make that sort of connection, or do they just assume that one's got to be good and the other's got to be bad?
I think that people like simple answers to these things. I think they're just terrified of anything they don't understand. But I have my own version of magnetic therapy. This is one of the earlier ones, which was a Band-Aid with a magnet stuck in it. And then I put out the boxes, which were in pain, emergency, break, glass. And I've got the thing on the side, warning, ghosts and UFOs are reputed to emit small electromagnetic fields. This device may repel aliens and ghosts. So say farewell to any additional residents in your home, not on this century's electoral roll. So I put those out, and I said, can we sell those? They said, no, we can't even give skeptical stuff away. So I did my best.
Yes?
Can I just ask a question? Just remember that they have these magnetic things or things that emit things that kill pests in homes. Do you know about those?
Oh, yes, we do. We know quite a lot about those. Unfortunately, Colin Kay had to leave. He spent 10 years fighting them. He has proved scientifically that they're a load of rubbish, and they have threatened to take away his home and his retirement money and everything. The ACCC has given up on it. In fact, just before I left, they had magnetic washballs, and I'm an eternal optimist. So I sent them to Colin, and I said, Colin, those magnetic balls, you know, I just want to be wrong. He said, oh, you know, a load of crap, some words like, whatever. He said, nah, they're a load of rubbish. And they were on Sunrise Show with Pete the Gadget Man just last week. So don't go rushing out buying $80 worth of magnetic washballs. They do not replace soap.
ACCC took a case against people selling almost the same as they were called purple power plates about 2 years ago. Fined them a lot of money.
Before that, it was little balls which were actually crossways plastic. They come out every couple of years, those washballs.
Well, there's magnets that you put on your fingers and you can live forever.
Oh, I've got some. Oh. Testimonial. I forgot to bring them. I was Alex Chew's immortality rings, and here's a testimonial. I have not died since I got them.
That's true.
I'm worried that I'll let them happen this weekend. I might get home. The beautiful thing is, Alex offers a 3-month money back guarantee.
Yeah.
There are other questioners, but perhaps you could confer with Loretta during the tea break, which is now.
Isn't the last thing a question time too?
Just remains to thank, for me, on your behalf, to thank Loretta very much for her fantastic work.
Lucky for your microphone.
A herbal remedy. Hey!
Fermented grape juice.